Sakuga. Now, what is this Sakuga that I'm talking about? Technically speaking, it basically means animation. That's very mundane, right? But of course, that's not how we use it. And for the anime fan, Sakuga means impressive animation. And I mean impressive animation that can be considered a visual miracle. A recent example would be the most iconic scene in Demon Slayer. You know, the one that blew up the internet? Just so we can get it out of the way, Sakuga, in its colloquial term, refers to a scene or even a moment where the animation quality just elevates in quality, going full overdrive and driving the fan base nuts. So today, I'll be going through 10 of the fights in anime with the most breathtaking animation. However, I won't just be ranking them based on animation, but also on scale and stakes, or just plain emotional investment for me. But before that, click the subscribe button, ring the bell, and let's get going. Am I correct in assuming that if you've been an anime fan for the past 5 years or so, you would have heard about Mob Psycho and how it has such amazing animation, to the point where there was actual drama when the show didn't win some online polls for the best animation and the like? That's wild if you ask me. To be fair, the angry mob, no pun intended, did have a point. Exhibit A. Mob versus Mogami. One could argue that Mob Psycho is pretty much a chain of fights filled with breathtaking animation, but I think this one stands out as it happens early in the second season and sets expectations for the rest of the series. Expectations that were easily met by the godly anime staff. This ain't One Punch Man with a cursed season 2, folks. It's a pivotal moment in Mob's character development and a breathtaking display of Japanese animation prowess. I can't be the only one who got chills when Mob breaks through Mogami after recapturing his resolve. Now that I've shown you this treat for your eyes, perhaps you want to try jumping into the Mob Psycho train too. Next, it's a fight from Castlevania. Yes, sir. Castlevania is an American production, but it looks very anime, right? And it has a source material that's Japanese, so I guess it counts. Hey now, I've talked about Chinese anime on this channel before, so it's only fair to include something from the West now, isn't it? But seriously though, do we really care too much about technicalities when we have one hell of a fight between Trevor, Belmont and Death? The fight has no shortage of epic moments that help capture the adrenaline of playing the original games. The camera angles and the intense motion captures really hammer home the impact of jumping around while fighting Death himself. The dramatic comeback by Belmont is one of my favorite moments in the whole Castlevania series. It's not too bad. It's not too bad at all. Probably something that would make you want to check out Castlevania, right? While it's a far cry from the traditional definitions of Sakuga, given the context of the production, this is a damn good fight. It's been a while, but I think it's the perfect time to talk about this fight again. After all, for those of you who are new to the channel, it's probably your first time being introduced to this masterpiece in animation. One of the best fight scenes in anime, if we're solely talking about the amount of effort exerted in animating a sequence so smoothly. Just let the clip speak for itself. I think that a key in keeping your viewers engaged is to just wow them with smooth animation. And wow us this show did with its display of superb martial arts and hand-to-hand combat. Unfortunately, the show's not too popular, and for the casual viewer, the fight unfortunately may not mean too much. JJK, where do we start? To help dampen the unfortunate news about the manga recently, let's look at one of the many breathtaking action sequences that the show has to offer. Honestly speaking, there's a lot to pick from, and I'm not even sure which one to feature for my list. But after much deliberation, I decided to go for the Yuji and Todo fight versus Hanami. Why? Well, It's simple. This fight for me is probably the fastest paced fight that requires so much more animation prowess to pull off. The characters go at it from the start, and you can just get lost at the amount of fluid movement that attacks your eyes. It helps that the fight has a lot of ways to keep you engaged, mostly through the techniques being put on display. You've got to watch this fight. It's no question that the animation will blow you away, but the application of teamwork and various techniques used in synergy is also a sight to see. I also like how Yuji and Todo didn't win the fight technically. They had to stall and survive long enough for Gojo to arrive and do his thing, and that, my friends, is yet another visual spectacle to end the awesomeness of the whole thing. Broly is on a roll. Not only is his appearance in Dragon Ball Super one of the iconic moments thanks to that spine-chilling transformation, more on that in this other video, his fight against Gogeta is one for the ages. Thanks to the wonders of modern technology, the Broly and the Gogeta that we've known from the old days have been reborn in amazing fashion. As expected from a theatrical production, the animation is just top-notch, and it really recaptures the heat of the battle between two of the most powerful beings in the Dragon Ball universe. Both fans of the old days looking for nostalgia, or the newer viewers that DBS got, would just love this fight. Paying to see the movie live will forever be a purchase that I will never, ever regret. We rarely see Gogeta in action, but he never disappoints when he sets out to kick ass. This is just one of the many fights that we'll remember the series for. With a fight that has a foregone conclusion, there are a few things you can do to make it interesting. The biggest and easiest way, in my opinion, is to have the whole thing look so over the top to the point where the audiences will remember it for years to come. That, my friends, is how I'll evaluate Saitama versus Boros. We all know Saitama's going to win this one anyway, so the question is a matter of how is he going to win? How is it going to look? Well, if attacks as over the top as the ones Boros threw is your thing, you've come to the right place. Watching the fight again, I can almost feel the impact from Boros' attacks that seem more than capable of planetary destruction. In the end, Boros' trump card is no match for Saitama's serious punch, and we put an end to this chapter of One Punch Man in probably the most visually impactful way possible. What, you think that just because I mentioned episode 19 in the intro, we won't be having any Demon Slayer? Well, especially since the record-breaking movie just got released not too long ago, bringing with it the fight, animations, and effects that we've long known Ufotable for. Yes, that's right, we have Akaza versus Rengoku as our 4th place entry for the list for a good reason. It's more than 5 minutes of simple non-stop action featuring the techniques and the art style that have long become Demon Slayer's signatures. Only now, being available on the big screen, you can see how much better everything looks. For those who haven't read the manga, the fight also came at an opportune time. Just when you thought that everything's over, here comes this far more powerful demon who pushes the fire Hashira way beyond his limits. It's a fight filled to the brim with emotion and stakes, and the fight is the one that leads to the tear-filled conclusion of the movie. It's one of the most moving fights in anime movie history for me. We've got more theatrical productions coming up, and this is a fight that I've spent quite a lot of time talking about. Hey, I can't help it because it's really that good. We're talking about the climax of Sword of the Stranger. To be fair, most of the movie's fight scenes can qualify, as you can see with that early sequence of Luo Lang soloing those poor falls. However, I got a lot more into it when the time for the final battle came. Sword of the Stranger stands out from the other titles on this list because it's one of the titles that doesn't involve those supernatural powers or whatnot, just good old swordsmanship, and it's fights like these that must be so well animated in order to captivate the audience. Luo Lang versus Nanashi almost single-handedly makes the movie worth watching, but I'd say that the entire movie is good, not just this part. Still though, it's the standout that I'll always remember the film for.
面白くなってきたな。
一丁教えてやろうぜサスケ。
Talk about the good old days, huh? Seeing Naruto and Sasuke fight together brings back some memories, and this is the one moment that the creators just cannot afford to screw up in Boruto. Thankfully, they passed the test with flying colors and gave us this visual spectacle of a fight. It's really a pleasure to see some callbacks to the old abilities that have become some of the most iconic parts of the franchise. Of course, it's made even better with the updated visuals and the very intriguing turns of events in the fight itself. I was at the edge of my seat when I first saw this fight, and it felt like a reunion filled with suspense and tension. The fight is good and all, but I think the saddest part of this is how much it reminds us of good old Naruto. And given how much effort got put into this fight and how beautiful it looked, I'd like to think that the animators are kinda in the same boat. At the top of the list is none other than, you guessed it, Saber versus Rider and Shirou. How could we have a list of breathtaking fight sequences without featuring probably the holy grail of big screen productions in that regard? The Heaven's Feel trilogy has been nothing short of breathtaking with its animation on the fight sequences, and the third movie gave us the pinnacle of it all. The Saber vs Rider and Shirou fight is something that I've been so excited to see when I started following the series. Then, the trailer hit. Then the actual film hit, and let's just say that I was completely captivated by the glorious animation in the real thing. I won't go as far as to say that nothing will compare to this fight in the film trilogy, but it's got a pretty damn secure grip on the top spot for me. There could be some arguments for some to consider the Berserker versus Saber fight, and it's a valid point, but for me, I think there's just far more stakes and emotional investment in this fight, and we know that it's the magic ingredient to help push a fight further. And with that in mind, I put this as my #1 breathtaking battle in anime, and I'm curious if you'd agree or not. Feel free to chime in on the comment section while you're at it. That brings us to the end of this list. If you enjoyed the countdown, hit that like button and share this video with your friends. Maybe it can catch their attention and you can help them join the wonderful world of anime. Now, if you really enjoyed the countdown video, you might want to consider supporting the channel through our two avenues, membership and Patreon. Subbing to either of these services will give you access to their respective perks, and you can help support the channel in a big way. I wish you a good day ahead, and I thank you for watching this video. I'd love to see you next time. This is ViniiTube, checking out.